couldn't hide my shock when I got a message sound from my lover while we were driving. So then, someone once said, "The what ifs and maybes are all that's left, a constant reminder of what could have been." And regretfully, I agree with that someone. Maybe the person was writing that quote from a place of deep pains and regret, a place where I am at right now, one I would give anything on earth right now to avoid. But sadly, I brought the situation upon myself. Hello, Reddits. My name is Dee. I will use the initial of my name because I do not want anyone coming after me after I make this post. I am 33 years old. I work at a bank and, in fact, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, of the bank I work for. I won't mention the name of the bank for security purposes. I've been married for 13 years now. Yes, I know what you're all thinking. I got married really early. George, I will use this as my husband's name. And I met when I was just 20 and fresh out of college. He was 26 then and was always working. Oh, by the way, George is also a banker like I am. I fell in love deeply with George, and we wasted no time and got married as quickly as possible despite all opposition from both his parents and mine, ... In fact, my parents cut me off totally believing that I wasted their whole efforts of sending me through college. Honestly, I understand them now because then, George was only a clerk at the bank and was merely surviving on a measly salary. But at that age, we've all made stupid decisions, so don't blame me. Well, George and I got married as I stated earlier within months of meeting, and luckily enough for us, or should I say for me, I got a job at the same bank where George was working. Our first 3 years of marriage was very amazing. George was in fact the sweetest husband one could ever pray for. He was caring, attentive, supportive, and despite his little earnings, he always made sure he took me out on surprise dates, sometimes dinner when we finish early from work, and buy me gifts. No, we had both agreed on not having children before we got married, and we believed we were both still too young to have kids, and that it would affect our careers. Everything was going so well for us until then, it just wasn't. I think everything started 4 years into our marriage. George was promoted at work, and I honestly felt really happy for him. Okay, I won't lie, maybe I was a little jealous. I mean, I was clearly the more intelligent one amongst us. I'm usually helping him with his work whenever he had to bring them home, and I helped him secure a huge contract with a big client who was my college friend back in school. George was lacking behind on targets, and I hated the way the boss kept yelling at him in his office and how distressed he'd be when he was home and would barely give me any attention. So when I got the call from my college friend that he wanted to invest, and since he knew I was the banker in our friendship, he wanted it to be me who helped him out with the whole thing. I do not want to bore you with the whole details, but I pleaded with my friend to let my husband be in charge, and he reluctantly agreed. I don't think I could ever forget that night. It was the best night of my life in our marriage. The day George got promoted at work. He came bearing gifts, and there were lots, mind you. And we made love that night. It was the best we ever had. The admiration in his eyes, his tender touches and loving. It was all amazing. I was happy that I could give him that. And so after that, every important deal that I got, I gave him, since it always made him happy. Until one fateful night. Our bank decided to celebrate its 10th year anniversary massively, and so that automatically meant award night. I was giddy with excitement, not for myself but for him, George, because I knew he was going to be awarded, going by the rumors in the office. I specially dressed my husband that night in anticipation of that night. I personally took care of the suit he wore that night, his hair, and carefully selected his shoes. I paid less attention to myself because I knew he was going to be the center of attention, so I had dressed almost casually that day. Imagine the surprise I got when I was named the best worker of the year and I had to go up to receive a medal. Apparently, my friend and most clients I'd gotten across to my husband were always singing my praises and were usually telling my bosses that I was the one who brought them on. Shockingly, I was given a promotion and a medal that night. That was probably when it all started. Because when we had gotten home that night, George, a little tipsy, had angrily blurted out that I made him look like a fool, and when I asked him how I could have done that, when I didn't even know the event would have turned out. He accused me of not dedicating the award to him, but I dedicated it to my bosses, and me, shocked and angry and feeling hurt about his statement towards my achievement, replied, and said he wasn't deserving of it. Well, let's just say I ended up apologizing several months for that slip-up. George wouldn't touch me after that. He barely made conversations with me, only spoke when necessary, came home late with excuses of work, forgetting we both worked in the same place, or that he met up with friends. I didn't complain because I knew I was at fault and tried everything to get back the man I used to know. Everything went back to normal on our 5th-year anniversary when he had come home bearing gifts and apologizing for his behaviors in the past. We made up, and I was so happy and caught up in the moment I forgot we didn't use any precautions, and I didn't bother with a morning after pill. Yeah, it ended up the way you think it did. I got pregnant, and I was really horrified by the idea of having a kid. Then just 5 years into our marriage, I told George about it. He wasn't pleased, nor was he panicking, and asked me what I wanted to do with the baby, if I wanted to keep it or not. And then I realized I couldn't. We were, me especially, at the peak of our careers, and I couldn't ruin things for myself now and then again. George was earning enough, but not so much as for 3 people, since he insisted I keep my money and let him handle our financial lives. When I told him about my decision not to keep the baby, he didn't object, just went along with it. I had felt guilty after that, but I eventually shrugged it off as nothing. Besides, I could get pregnant later and have a baby, but I couldn't build my career again if it ended now because of a baby. My mom had always said back home when I was a child that a baby always takes off the remaining part of your life once you've had them, and honestly, I didn't want that for myself. Everything went on okay after then. George was back to the loving man I knew, and we were happy. Well, yeah, it didn't last as the 7th year of being married as I got promoted at work again. It didn't sit in well for George, I guess, because he didn't come home for days, and when he eventually did, he didn't talk to me. I tried everything, from setting up romantic dinner dates at home to sexy nightwear to everything else. He just wasn't interested. I tried holding conversations to sort it out, but it just ended with him shouting and getting angry with me, and I didn't know what to do. I gave up hope eventually, and it went on for 2 whole years, and eventually we literally became housemates. We related only when necessary and at work as boss and subordinate. Our 11th year of marriage was the turning point in our marriage, or maybe the turning point in my life personally. I met my lover, yes. I got myself a lover, and I was still married. I can call that the most thrilling time in my life. Maybe because George was my one and only boyfriend before we got married, so I didn't get the chance to explore as much as I could have if I hadn't gotten married as early as I did. Don't blame me for it. George wasn't exactly forthcoming with romance in our relationship, and I guess I became lonely and unhappy. Let me tell you how I met him. We were to hold a seminar and also recruit new staff from there, so it was a 2-in-1 thing. As one of the bosses, I was appointed to give a seminar talk, and I was very confident about it. It went well, and it was a huge success as we had different applicants to our bank. I was personally approached by applicants to ask questions. I was clearly enjoying myself that I didn't even look to George's direction once, and yes, George was also there. I remember clearly that day what he said. "You look too young and beautiful to be as successful as this." Yes, it was him. John, not his real name, but I'll name him that just for this post. He was clearly young and handsome, but certainly not the type to turn heads at first. I don't exactly remember the response I gave him because I was clearly offended by the statement he made. I've been accosted at different times by different people, and even my own husband, that I was either using money or my body to acquire the position I had. So I had grown defensive unconsciously. But I remember his next response turned the frowns into a grin, and we went on talking. Mostly I was the one doing the talking, and he was just nodding his head and asking a few questions, giving his own opinions here and there. I guess I liked that. Because I was used to people, by people I meant mostly George, arguing and refusing to let my opinion be heard, so it was a nice space to be in. We got interrupted that day by another person who wanted to ask me a question, and I had to eventually leave to attend to my other duties, so I had forgotten about him already. Until 2 months later, he was posted to our branch. It had been a pleasant surprise seeing him, and I was honestly pleased because he was a hard worker, and within a month working there, everyone approved of him and liked him, especially me. I don't know exactly what attracted me to him, but I just felt drawn to him. Maybe it was his easy smiles or the way he spoke. I guess he reminded me of George in those early years when he was wooing me. He was 24 then when we met, and believe me, I tried to resist him because I was obviously married, even though my marriage was, even as at that time, hanging on a thin thread. I fell for John. He was fun and exciting and celebrated my achievements every time. It was very clear he admired me, and he made sure I knew that every time. I tried everything that I could to hide my feelings for John at work and at home, but it became especially hard when he invited me to a romantic dinner under the pretense of being confused about a work-related issue. I had fun, I won't lie. He made me laugh, and I couldn't remember how many times I blushed that night. When the dinner came to an end, I was really reluctant to go home, and maybe it was the drink. Maybe I was really tipsy because when he kissed me, I wrapped my arms around his back and returned the kiss. Getting home from that dinner and the kiss I couldn't get out of my mind, George confronted me and asked me where I was and who I was with. Which was a surprise because I didn't think he cared enough for that, so I just ignored him and went into my room. Oh yeah, we shared separate rooms. After that night, we had many dinners together, mostly at his place so we wouldn't be seen by anyone, which was actually my suggestion, and one thing led to another. We became lovers. Being with John made me feel young and beautiful. He was very daring. He had at one time come over to my place and bent me over my husband's cushion, which he loved sitting on whenever he was home, and made crazy love to me. One time, under the pretense of having work with me in my office, he had made love to me over my desk. Too many details, but might I add that there was no place in his house that was decent again from our lovemaking. Months after my continuous affair with John, I don't know what exactly changed in George because he became the man I once knew. He apologized over a surprising dinner date and told me to let go of the past, as he too was. I wondered after what he was letting go of. He became very attentive, would make me dinner, began to celebrate my achievements, made love to me. I won't lie, at that point, although I still loved George, his lovemaking was null compared to John's. And yes, I still found time for John. We still saw and had our usual crazy sex. Our relationship became more exciting because the more George wanted to be the perfect husband, the more I craved John's attention. It's not my fault. John was very addicting, and we've gotten so involved that I couldn't break things off with him. It was a very difficult choice, but I eventually decided to play a happy wife and a wide lover. Everything finally fell apart one evening. We went to a mutual friend's wedding, and George was driving me home. I couldn't hide my shock when I got a message from my lover while we were driving. So then I was trying to hide my phone and mumbling something about work when George slowly parked the car. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would burst. I was trying to play an indifferent me, but I felt really scared when George slowly turned his head towards me and asked, "Which one of your lovers is it now?" I couldn't even hide my shock, and when I recovered enough to deny it, he shouted angrily at me. "Oh no." George knew. It was then George told me angrily that he knew about all my affairs over the years. He told me bitterly that our marriage wasn't working those early years because he found out I slept with my friend to get him the investment job, and he knew I slept with every other one of them too. And he knew of my recent lover too, but he didn't know I would be so brave enough to rub it in his face. I begged and begged him for his forgiveness, but George said it was over. He decided to quit our marriage of 13 years, just like that. I know what you're all thinking, but I did it for him. I loved him very much, and I wanted him to have those deals and be happy. Please help me. I need advice. George announced he was moving out, and his lawyer will be the only connection between us from then. I need to save my marriage, please. Update. I'm still reeling from the comments on my previous post. I knew I'd face backlash for my actions, but I didn't expect it to be this intense. People have been lashing out at me, calling me names, and judging me without knowing the full story. It's like they think I'm some kind of monster. To be honest, the comments have left me feeling emotionally unstable. I've been questioning my own worth, wondering if I'm indeed a terrible person. But then I remind myself that I'm human, and humans make mistakes. I've been trying to take the advice from my previous post to heart. I've reached out to George, and we've had some tough conversations. I've acknowledged my mistakes and taken responsibility for my actions. I've also started attending therapy sessions to work through my own issues. But it's hard when everyone around me seems to be against me. Even my friends and family are judging me, telling me that I've brought this upon myself. It feels like I'm alone in this, like no one understands what I'm going through. I know I'm not perfect, and I've made mistakes, but I'm trying to learn from them, to grow and become a better person. I wish people could see that, and could understand that I'm not just a cheater, but a complex person with flaws and weaknesses. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm still struggling. I'm still trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. And I wish people could be kinder, more understanding. And I keep thinking about why I did what I did. I keep wondering if I was just blind or if I was truly trying to help. The truth is, I did it all for George. I thought I was making him happy, helping him succeed. I didn't realize that with every deal I secured, every client I brought in, I was slowly breaking him. I remember the way he used to look at me, with admiration and gratitude. I thought that's what love was, making each other happy, supporting each other's dreams. But now I see it was all a facade. He was struggling, and I didn't notice. I didn't know that my actions were suffocating him, that he felt overshadowed by my success. I didn't know that he felt like he was losing himself in our relationship. All I knew was that I loved him, and I wanted to make him happy. It's ironic, isn't it? I thought I was doing everything for him, but in reality, I was doing it all for myself. I was trying to prove my worth, my value in the relationship. I didn't realize that true love isn't about making each other happy all the time. It's about being honest, vulnerable, and supportive. If only I had known. If only I had seen the signs. Maybe things would be different now. Maybe we could have worked through our issues together. But now, I'm left to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart, wondering what could have been if only I had known. Update. Hello Reddit, it's Dee again. I'm exhausted. The constant barrage of negative comments, the judgmental looks, the whispered conversations behind my back. It's all becoming too much. I thought I was strong enough to handle it, but the truth is, I'm not. No one seems to care about my feelings, about how I'm struggling to come to terms with the collapse of my marriage. All they see is the cheater, the homewrecker, the villain. No one stops to think about the pain I'm in, the guilt I'm carrying, the shame I'm trying to overcome. I've had enough. I need a break from all this toxicity. I've decided to take some time off work, to get away from the constant reminders of my failures. I need space to think, to reflect, to try and make sense of it all. I know some people will say I'm running away, that I'm not facing the consequences of my actions, but the truth is, I'm facing them every day. I'm facing the shattered remains of my marriage, the loss of my best friend, the destruction of my own self-worth.
All right.
I just need some time to try and put the pieces back together. I need to figure out who I am, outside of my marriage, outside of my job. I need to learn to love myself again, to forgive myself, to heal. So, I'll be taking a step back from the world for a while. I'll be focusing on myself, on my own healing journey. I hope that when I return, people will see me in a different light, as a person who's trying to grow, to learn, to become a better version of herself. People think that I haven't been trying to win him back, but that's not the case at all, ... In fact, I thought that if I could just win George back, everything would go back to normal, so I tried to do all the things that I thought would please him. I cooked his favorite meals, wore the clothes he liked, even tried to initiate conversations about his interests. But no matter what I did, he wouldn't even look at me. It was like I was invisible to him. I felt like I was dying inside, like I was losing myself in the process of trying to save our marriage. I remember the other day, I spent hours cooking his favorite dinner, setting the table with candles and flowers, trying to create a romantic atmosphere. But when he came home, he just walked past me and didn't even acknowledge my efforts. I felt so defeated, so worthless. I realized that I was trying to buy his love, to earn his affection, but it wasn't working. He was gone, and I was just a shadow of myself trying to hold on to something that was already lost. It's hard, but I'm trying. I'm trying to let go of the need for his approval, his love. I'm trying to find my own identity, my own happiness. It's a journey, and it's not easy, but I know it's necessary. Update. Hey Reddit. I have to admit, I was skeptical at first when one of the readers suggested I try therapy. I thought, what's the point? My marriage is over, I've ruined everything. But something about the suggestion resonated with me. Maybe it was the desperation. Maybe it was the hope that somehow, some way, I could fix myself, fix my life. So, I took a deep breath and made an appointment with a therapist. I was nervous, I didn't know what to expect. But as soon as I sat down in her office, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. She was kind, non-judgmental, and empathetic. She listened to my story, and then she said something that struck me to my core. You're trying to fix everyone else, but you're not fixing yourself. She told me that I needed to focus on my own healing, my own growth, that I needed to learn to love myself, to forgive myself. She suggested I try journaling, to get my thoughts and feelings down on paper. She suggested I practice self-care, take time for myself, and do things that bring me joy. She suggested I try to rediscover who I am, outside of my marriage, outside of my roles as wife and employee. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I realized that I didn't have to be defined by my mistakes, by my failures. I could be more, I could be different. I left her office feeling hopeful, feeling like maybe, just maybe, I could learn to love myself, to forgive myself. Maybe I could learn to be happy again. I started journaling, and it was like unlocking a door to my soul. I wrote about my feelings, my fears, my dreams. I wrote about my marriage, about George, about the pain and the heartache. I wrote about my affair, about John, about the guilt and the shame. As I wrote, I started to see patterns, to see how my actions were driven by my own insecurities, my own fears. I saw how I had been trying to fill a void that I thought George or John could fill, but it was a void that only I could fill. I started trying practicing self-care, taking time for myself, doing things that brought me joy as recommended by the therapist. The therapist also suggested I try to forgive myself, to let go of the guilt and the shame. She told me that I was human, that I made mistakes, but that I could learn from them. She told me that I deserved forgiveness, that I deserved to be happy. It's hard, forgiveness. It's hard to let go of the past, to let go of the pain. But I'm trying. I'm trying to forgive myself, to forgive George, to forgive John. I'm trying to let go of the anger, the resentment, the bitterness. I'm trying to start anew, to start fresh. I'm trying to find myself, to find my own happiness. It's a journey of self-discovery, of growth, of healing. And I'm taking it one step at a time. Update. Hello Reddit, it's me again. Not everyone has been supportive of my journey. Some readers have been slashing me online, saying that I'm delusional for thinking I need to forgive myself. They say it's George who needs to forgive me, that I'm the one who cheated, who broke our vows. And maybe they're right. Maybe I am the one who needs to be forgiven. But the thing is, I'm not asking for George's forgiveness. I'm asking for my own. I'm trying to forgive myself for my mistakes, for my weaknesses, so my therapist says I should do. I've even tried reaching out to George to ask him to try therapy with me. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could work through our issues together, but he refused. He said he's done, that he can't keep reliving the past. I understand. I really do. But it's hard not to take it personally. It's hard not to feel like I'm still being punished, still being blamed. The online criticism has been hard to take too. Some people have been so cruel, so heartless. They don't know me, they don't know my story, but they're quick to judge, quick to condemn. It's made me wonder if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm being selfish by trying to forgive myself. But then I remember why I started this journey in the first place. I'm doing it for me, because I need to heal, because I need to move on. I'm not going to let the opinions of others define me. I'm going to keep moving forward, keep seeking forgiveness, keep seeking healing. For myself. Well, that's a lie. I've realized that forgiveness is a journey, but I'm not sure I'm ready for it. I'm still stuck in the anger, the hurt, the resentment. I thought I could let go, but it's harder than I thought. I wish I didn't need George's forgiveness to move on, but I do. I wish I didn't need his approval or validation, but I crave it. I'm still trying to prove to him that I'm worthy, that I'm not a mistake. I thought I could focus on my own healing, my own growth, but it's hard when I'm still haunted by my past. I'm still trying to rediscover who I am outside of my marriage, outside of my roles as wife and employee. But it's hard when I feel like I've lost myself completely. I thought I could find my own identity, my own purpose, but it's elusive. I feel like I'm just going through the motions, trying to survive rather than thrive. I regret not being stronger, not being wiser. I regret not being more careful with the hearts of those around me. I regret not being able to make it work. I know I still have a long way to go, but I'm not sure I have the strength to keep going. I'm not sure I can face the consequences of my actions. I'm not sure I can forgive myself. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, but I'm not sure I'm better. I'm still broken, still battered, still bruised. I'm still trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. I'm not grateful for the journey, not yet. I'm still trying to find the lessons learned, still trying to find the growth. I know I'll always carry the scars of my past with me, but I'm not sure I can see them as a reminder of my strength, my resilience. Not yet. Update. Hello, Reddit. I know my posts have been getting too much, but I just wanted to update you all on everything happening now. Yes, George and I are officially divorced. I know I deserve it, and he's probably in a better place now. He's left the town entirely and transferred to a location I know nothing about, but that's probably for the better. I wish I'd started rebuilding my relationships with my loved ones sooner. I wish I'd earned back their trust and respect before it was too late. But I didn't, and now I'm left with the regret of what could have been. My friends and family have been supportive, but I can tell they're still hurt by my actions. They've told me when I've messed up, when I've been selfish, and it's hard to hear. I wish I could go back and do things differently, but I can't. I've tried to explore new hobbies and interests, but nothing seems to fill the void left by my mistakes. I've tried to find joy in things outside of my marriage, outside of my roles, but it's just not the same. I'm not happier now. I'm just more numb. I'm not more fulfilled. I'm just more exhausted. I know I still have bad days, and I don't know how to deal with them. I'm still stuck in moments of doubt and fear. I know I'm not perfect, and I know I'll make mistakes again, but I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with being human, with being weak. I'm just regretful of the choices I made, of the pain I caused. Honestly, I'm not grateful for this journey. I'm just relieved it's over. I'm not excited to see what's next. I'm just anxious. I know there will be challenges ahead, and I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can face them head on. I'm just trying to survive, to make it through each day without too much pain. I'm not living my life, I'm just existing. And it's a regret that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Update. And then there are the people who ask about John. They want to know if I've broken things off with him, if I've ended the affair. They want to know if I've finally come to my senses and realized that I was wrong to cheat on my husband. At first, I didn't know how to answer that question. I didn't know if I was ready to let go of John, of the feelings I had for him. I didn't know if I was ready to face the consequences of my actions. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had to end it. I had to end it for myself, for my own healing. I had to end it because I knew that I couldn't keep living a lie, couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. So I did. I ended things with John. It was hard, but it was necessary. It was like ripping off a Band-Aid, painful, but ultimately liberating. I remember the day I ended it with him. I was nervous, my heart racing with anticipation. I didn't know how he would react, if he would be angry or sad or relieved. But as I told him that it was over, that I couldn't keep doing this anymore, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I felt like I could finally breathe again, like I could finally be myself again. It wasn't easy, of course. There were still feelings there, still emotions that I had to navigate. But I knew that I had made the right decision, that I had done what was best for me. John didn't take it easy, though. It started affecting his work so badly that the bank had to let him go, and I didn't see him after that. And it was better that way, right? Maybe. I don't know anymore. It's been a few months now since I ended things with John, and I'm still trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. I thought I was strong, but I was wrong. I thought I was capable of moving on, but I'm still stuck in the past. I'm consumed by regret, by thoughts of what could have been if I had made different choices. I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed with John, if I'd fought for our relationship. I wonder what would have happened if I had been honest with myself, if I had confronted my own flaws sooner. I'm not proud of myself, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of my weakness, my cowardice. I'm ashamed of the pain I caused, the love I lost. I thought I was growing, changing, but I'm still the same person I was a year ago. I'm still stuck in my ways, still afraid to face my own emotions. I'm still living in a state of emotional numbness, still denying my own flaws. I'm not ready to face whatever comes next. I'm still trying to survive the present. I'm not ready to start anew. I'm still trying to make sense of the past. I'm not grateful for this journey. I'm still trying to find a way out of the darkness. I'm not grateful to be me. I'm still trying to find myself. I'm not grateful to be alive. I'm still trying to find a reason to keep going. Update. Hey Reddit, this is regretfully and satisfactorily my last post on this app. I'm not sure where to start or how to put into words the emotions I'm feeling right now. All I know is that I'm left with a deep sense of regret and longing. I regret the choices I made, the pain I caused, and the love I lost. I regret not being stronger, not being wiser, and not being more careful with the hearts of those around me. To those who supported me, I'm sorry for letting you down. I'm sorry for not being the person you thought I was. I'm sorry for not being able to make it work. To those who hated me, I understand. I hate myself too. I hate the mistakes I made and the pain I caused. I'm not the same person I was when I started this journey. I'm broken, I'm battered, and I'm bruised. I'm left to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart and try to make sense of it all. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'll be carrying this regret with me for a long time. I hope that someday I'll be able to find some measure of peace, but for now, I'm just trying to survive. Thank you for being part of my journey. Goodbye for now, and thank you.